Okay, so the first possibility is a bard. You're an entertainer, you've got a lot of wit, and you're a little bit mischievous, okay? So that's one possibility. A second character that you could be is a cleric. You're a deeply religious person, and you're a healer, both spiritually and physically. So you take care of people's physical conditions as well as their spiritual health. You might be a fighter. You're very powerful, well-focused, results-oriented, really unstoppable. So that's a possibility. Or you may be a sorcerer. You like to work magic, but you like to learn your magic on the fly and you want to implement what you learned as you go along. And the fifth choice is that you're a wizard. Again, you like to work magic, but in this case, you're more deliberate in your approach. You write all the spells that you know down in a spell book, and every morning you review them and decide which ones you're going to prepare for the day. And then you spend time making sure you've got all the right elements and that you're, got them memorized so that they're ready to use when you're ready to use them. Okay? So which of these characters are you going to be? Write that down very quickly, please.
You only get one.
Only get one. Only one. Just what you want to do. Yeah. This is a role-playing game. This is a game. So what do you want to do? What do you want to be in this game? Okay? Now, each of you is going to have 6 abilities, and you're all going to have the same 6 abilities. And we're going to go through them briefly, and then I'll tell you what to do with them. Okay? So in terms of abilities, you all have strength, and this could be physical or mental strength. Either way, depending on your character. Dexterity, again, physical or mental. So you can adapt very quickly. Constitution, resilience, and endurance. So these are important factors in some characters and more than others. Intelligence, reasoning, and memory. These are the key factors with intelligence. Wisdom, perception and insight. This is where you get a little deeper into the weeds and get to the why kind of thing. And then the charisma. This is your personality, your style, your charm. Okay? So all of you possess all 6 of these abilities. Now what I want you to do is list them in order of their importance to your character. So which of these is going to be most critical? And list them, the most important first in descending order. And I'm going to give you 15 seconds to do that. Okay, the next thing that I want you to do is on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being high, how well does this character mirror you? On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being high, how does this character mirror you? How well does it mirror you? Okay, now, using the same scale, 1 to 5, 5 being high, how well do the strengths, the abilities that you have, mirror those that you actually possess? How well do the abilities that the character has mirror what yours are?
Can you recap real quickly just the fact that the participants are in the audience? Just kind of real quick what you kind of said first.
Okay. Okay, so here in the audience, what we've done now is we've created characters that we can use in the role-playing game, and we've gotten some sense for how well they mirror us. The next thing that you want to do is to pair up with somebody, and if you've got an odd number at the table, have a group of 3, that's fine. but pair up with somebody and answer these questions. How is my character like me, and how does it differ from me? Okay? And we're just going to take a minute for this. So, as I said at the beginning, I didn't bring the panel up right away because they didn't know what the exercise was, and I wanted them to go through it at the same time you were going through it. So we're going to call the panelists up now, if you will. And while they're coming up, what I'd like to see is a show of hands. How many of you rated your character a 1 or a 2 as a mirror of you? We got about 3 people that did. 4? Okay, 5. I'm interested. Why did you choose something different, that dramatically different than you?
This was for fun.
It was for fun.
And I talk to my kids all the time about being a wizard. That would be fun.
Okay, good, good. Anybody else? You know, it's possible, and it may not be true in your case, but it's possible when you're choosing something dramatically different than where you are, that it's time for a change. That you may be ready for a change, that either what you've kind of peaked in your particular profession, your career, or just no longer holds the interest that it once did. So just something to think about. Again, we're trying to get a little different perspective on life here, right? So that's one way of doing it. Okay, now in true Contrarian fashion, well, first of all, I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves here.
Lori St. Clair, on target for profitable growth.
Glenda Woolley, 5-star leadership.
Bill Burnett, simply successful.
And again, I want to thank these brave folks. Can you imagine coming up here and not knowing what the exercise was going to be? I mean, yeah. I should be in sales to a greater extent than I am, if I can do that, right? So here's what we're going to start with the audience. In true Contrarian fashion, we always start with the audience. And I'm going to ask people to share something they learned about themselves in this that's going to help propel them forward. Who would like to share something they learned about themselves in this exercise that's going to help propel them forward? Cynthia?
I chose the sorcerer. I chose the sorcerer, and I found myself relating to that, but I listed charisma as being number 6.
Okay.
Because I think I see my role and the role of the sorcerer as being much more serious, hard, tough kind of thing. And what I realized is I could be showing a little more joy and a little more charisma.
Okay, good. Anyone else? Bill?
First of all, I had a hard time choosing between bard, cleric, and sorcerer.
Okay.
All right. And so the thing that was interesting about this is I view these kind of exercises as you put something up on the wall and you look at that and then you come back. So it's kind of like going out into orbit and looking at it and then coming back. And so the value of this exercise for me is, well, let's see if maybe I want to be more of a bard or more of a cleric or more of a sorcerer. And because there's a difference between what I think of as those things and the way the exercise was set up. So that's, to me, that's always a valuable exercise.
Good.
Just don't do it enough.
Good. John?
He knows.
John?
I was just going to hand the mic off to someone.
Oh, you're just going to hand it? Okay.
Wait, I did pick Bard, so I'm an entertainer. I'm evasive.
Okay, we'll turn it over to our panel then.
Bob said he was intelligent.
Yeah. Lori? What?
Okay, so I chose a fighter, but I was truly between that and a wizard, because the wizard immediately I was drawn to because it's such planning, and I am such a planner. But a fighter, to me, I chose it because it, to me, was very close to how I am naturally. And what I learned, though, that I think Dale can really attest to with what he teaches is one of the things I rated fairly low for how I rate against this that's needed, is I said wisdom is one of the number one things that's needed to be a fighter, because you really have to know where you're headed to pursue and persevere and be unstoppable and powerful. But for me, I rated that as my biggest difference, that I don't see that within myself, but I know others see that within me. And so that comes down to the confidence, and that was a big realization to me that, you know, just having that confidence, because I do think it's a pretty good match to me, but when I wrote him down, I didn't see myself as matching with that.
Okay, great. Good insights.
For me, first of all, I was a little panicked when he was bringing up the characters, because each one I'm like, that's not me, I don't want to be that. But when we got to the wizard, I'm like, oh yes, and because I'm such a visual person, I've always wanted to wear one of those cone-looking, you know, pointy kind of hats and the robe, you know. I was thinking, that is so me. But I did, you know, I was really comfortable when I saw what it means to be a wizard, because I am a planner. I like to study. I like to keep, you know, it said keep spells. I love to collect things and organize things. So for me, I really felt like that's where I fit. But I've never been given the title wizard. So I'll take it.
Good.
We need
Good.
to see that business card next.
Yeah. A good idea. I'll add it to my business card.
So once you put up the word wizard, I knew what I was, because I ascribed to be the wizard. So, but my take is from the Wizard of Oz, and so I always try to be the man behind the curtain. The idea being that I like to put everybody else out front, and I like to be behind the scenes, making things happen. So once you put the wizard up, then I knew, you know, that's who I wanted to be. When I put the characteristics down, not knowing, but they were exactly the way I feel about myself. So
Good.
Fun exercise, though.
Good. Well, I originally intended to tell you what my character was and why.
Come on. We need to know.
But I thought it would be more fun, because I'm part of Lori's mastermind group, to have our mastermind group say what they thought I would be as a character. So, Lori?
As soon as it came up, I pegged you as one of them. The sorcerer, between a bard and a sorcerer, because you do a lot on the fly and you apply what you learn along the way. So that's what
Kathy's nodding yes, and we're running short of time here. Karen?
I was between sorcerer and wizard.
Okay, yeah, and actually, that's why I don't play poker with these folks, because sorcerer was my choice. And with my nephews, we played Dungeons and Dragons, and I played all of these characters at one time or another. And what was interesting is I loved being the sorcerer for the very reasons that Lori mentioned. I hated being a wizard. There's just way too much detail involved, or too much tedium involved in there for me. That doesn't mean it's wrong, it's just not right for me. Now, you also, in situations like this, sometimes learn things about yourself that you really rather not know. And one of the things I found when I played all these characters, unless charisma was a requisite for success, I made it my lowest score. That way I could be really obnoxious, and I liked it, okay? And Will was kind enough to affirm that fact here this morning, right? So, so one of the things I have to work on is that I have to pay attention to the language I'm using, because I can actually trip over that line fairly easily. Now, the one last question I have: what did you learn today that would apply to all of us? Yes.
We all have different strengths and different gifts, and I think it's interesting because when I was reading them, I thought, well, who would ever choose that one? I mean, and it's interesting that people did.
Yeah.
And so we all have different strengths and gifts, and it all comes together to make the world that we're in now.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Yes, Jill.
I read it as we all have little bits. Oh, sorry. We all have little bits of each of those ingrained in us.
All right.
And it's just picking out which one you need in that particular moment.
Okay. There was another hand. Brian?
It's good to have fun.
It's good to have fun. Okay, we're running out of time, so I will share with you my insight. Because so many of us chose characters that are well aligned with us, who we are. They mirror us very closely. That tells us that in times of stress, that's what we're going to turn to, is that characteristic and those groups of abilities, and that's where we're going to return. And so in times of stress, I have to be very vigilant. I use the strengths that I have on the fly, and I use them well, and I like them, they serve me well, but I got to watch out for the charisma thing. So, just a thought. Understand, if you understand your nature, then you know where you're going to return in times of stress, and you know what to use effectively and what to monitor. With that, let's give the panel and yourselves a round of applause. Great job.